the pressures at the lower level, especially when one is elected to recruit and increase numbers. We have tried very much in Kirinyaga to restrict recruitment to essential services, and those essential services are necessitated by also increase in facilities. For example, I have opened 10 new health centers. I require additional personnel in health. I've opened a level 5 hospital, and because of that and the building of 2 level 4 hospitals, I'm having to increase medics by 50. I have to hire additional 50 medics. But what I have done is that in other sectors which are not extremely critical, when they retire in agriculture, for example, we are not replacing them. We are expanding the scope of the officers who are there. So if you are covering a very small section, we tell you cover this section and the next, so that we are able to stretch and have people more productive on a daily basis. But it's still aspirational, and we are working towards that, and hopefully eventually we'll be able to bring those numbers down. In terms of the total number of employees, we have 2,361 employees, and casual employees about 800. The reason, again, we keep them at that level is because these numbers will not come down if you make everybody permanent and pensionable. And so for work that can be done on a temporary basis, such as cleaning of the environment, cleaning of the hospitals and health facilities, those kind of work, we keep them at casual level instead of permanent and pensionable, because the permanent and pensionable will take that wage bill to over 55%.
There was evidence required by asked by Senator Sifuna.
Yes, we can provide the evidence. We didn't provide it here, but we can provide the evidence. It's actually even been documented, including in my cabinet meetings, that they should not, no department should recruit any new additional non-essential workers. But we can show the list of those who have retired, because it's actually against that list that we are hiring, for example, the medics, the additional medics that we require to facilitate the expansion of our health facilities.
So, Governor, you're saying you have not hired anybody who's not considered essential from 2021. That's the position. Okay.
You know, when we look at the breakdown of the figures for HR, and we are extremely alarmed. I think we might call it 43%, but the implication is you've got a revenue of 5.1 billion. 2.2 billion goes to employees. So you're left with just about 2.8 billion. Out of the remaining 2.8 billion, 1.1 billion are transferred. So you're remaining with just about 1.6 billion for development and for recurrent expenditure. 1.6 billion. Senator Cherarkei.
Yes.
That's what some of your friends are having for lunch. 1.6 billion for an entire. That's a belt. Is that a belt or that's a watch? So I mean, you are running a very small shop here, but because you're overpaying on employees, and when you look at the 1.1 that goes to transfers, 800 million goes to the assembly. What percentage of their total revenues is that? 800 million of 5.1 billion. What's the percentage? Could you work it out? No, 25 is over dramatizing it. It cannot be 25. 800 million of 5.1 billion. Is it about 16%? 16%. So the same PFM Act that we are referring to, what threshold does it put on the transfers to county assemblies? It should be?
It starts from 7 and they say up to 10.
Oh, it says 7% or twice the personnel emoluments, whichever is lower. So already the assembly is at 16%. Your employees are at 43%. So already 60% has been consumed by employees and the county assembly. Really, there's a problem there. There's some problem in terms of fiscal prudence. And we are not saying the assembly should get less, but it should be reasonable. It should be based on the revenues of the county. If the governor has 1.6 billion to do development and operations, the assembly has got 800 million to oversight 1.6 billion. No, Governor, I'm not trying to incite you on anything. I'm just trying to contextualize. The assembly uses 800 million to oversight a development of, because let me see.
1.6.
Actually, your development was exactly 800 million, acquisition of assets. So the assembly spends 800 million to oversight development of 800 million.
1 shilling. 1 to 1.
Yeah.
Chair, in fact,
Stop looking at the assembly. We are not suggesting anything, but we are just contextualizing the situation.
In fact, there is a more uncomfortable conversation that I'm sure the Council of Governors is very averse to about the sustainability of some of these entities, some of these units, devolved units. Governor, if an entity exists entirely to pay salaries, you know there is a problem there because that was not the spirit of devolution. That's not why we decided we needed to devolve resources down there. And that conversation I know is very uncomfortable for many people, not just Kirinyaga County, because it doesn't make sense for 1 shilling to supervise development of 1 shilling. The bulk of that money, in fact, should entirely be going towards development. But we are in a state where I think the interpretation of devolution by some people, I'm not saying the residents of Kirinyaga, but that this was ours. This one has come to us. It's for us to, for lack of another term, eat. Yeah. So if you go to Bungoma, the county government of Bungoma exists to pay Bukusu's salaries. And if you try and say, oh, we want now to merge this county with Kakamega so that it's sustainable, you'll be told now you want to finish us. So I think it's a broader conversation, and I think for me, from the side of the Senate, I don't know what can be done, Chair, so that even when we fight for increase of resources to the counties, there has to be a cap on an expenditure, so that even if we add you money, you cannot add yourself staff, even those ones that you call essential. Yeah, I think that's the only way.
Yeah, because these numbers, they tell the story. Because that's the unfortunate reality. Honorable Chair Park, how many members are there in the County Assembly of Kirinyaga? 31. Just go on record. 31 members.
You're asking about honorable members?
Yeah.
31.
31 members.
Yeah.
Yeah, now this conversation will go back to the Finance Committee of the Senate, because the Finance Committee that looks at ceilings for county assemblies and county executives. But a situation where you spend 800 million on the assembly to oversight 800 million of development is a problem. And more so when that assembly has not considered this report 800 million shillings later. And that's why I'm happy the assembly is here, because some of these conversations, if we tell you to go and tell them, you'll be brought back to the Senate for impeachment, like happened last time. But I think for us to be convinced that that 800 million that goes to the assembly is a proper charge, please do your oversight role. Please consider these reports. Please be more up to date than the Senate.
Shall do that. Yeah.
Treasury, just one to the Treasury, then I come to you.
Yeah.
When the PFM Act in Section 107 says in the medium term, what does that mean? That in the medium term, development expenditure shall not be less than 30%. Because that is the language used in the law.
I think the medium term relates now to the middle term expenditure framework, which runs 3 years. Within that time then, the county government should confine itself to the percentage given.
So this should have been done in 2018.
Yes, but Chair,
if we are looking at that as a medium term.
allow me to say thank you to my governor because looking at the situation in Kirinyaga and the governor insisting that the 35% should remain, that should be a motivation for the county government of Kirinyaga to maximize on revenue collection along the revenue streams that you have. I thank you, Governor.
Are you also about to declare interest? Because was the governor your boss at the treasury, or is she your boss? Is she your governor in the county?
But she was my boss, and now she's my governor.
Yeah, because those kind of comments are very rare coming.
Yeah,
He's always hitting other governors very hard.
Chair, maybe being a constituent of Kirinyaga County, he must be very surprised at how much we have done with such little money. I think that is why he's thanking us.
Maybe a quick one.
Okay,
to you, Chair.
Senator Cheraki.
But I know Dr. Munywa normally travels every weekend to his rural law. Anyway, which means he's aware of what is happening. Mind, Governor, just the way Senator Sifuna has requested, you should have given us, on issue of own source revenue, you should have at least given us an evidence to that there is a movement of, in terms, because I agree with you, this 35% should be motivation. Then you should have given us at least annexes to show a demonstrable way that your own source revenue, own source revenue. And I'm happy your CC Finance is a lady, and I'm told what men can do, women can do better. She should have at least put on own source revenue demonstrable target. Number two, and finally, because the more you improve on own source revenue, at least you have talked about arrears and penalties. I thought, are you giving out waivers to people who have issues of land rates and rent? And how much are you looking at? If you can give us the figures, either the chair can rule that you can provide that evidence, because I know on arrears and penalties, I thought you give waivers to people in Kirinyaga, Kerugoya, Kagio. There's a famous center called Kagio. I know how famous it is. But these arrears and penalties, have you given waivers to motivate so that people can be paying, and how much are you looking at? And finally, these revenue officers and clerks, you are talking about automation of revenue collection. I thought when you have automated, you don't need to collect physically, because it will affect the banking and handling cash, which is not neat. So what do you mean? Have you automated? Have you automated your revenue collection to ensure that at least there is less interaction between your clerks, revenue officers, and clerks? So have you automated the system of revenue collection? Those are my three questions, Chair. And I'm happy to see my brother who was in Nandi, the MCA, who is specially elected, being part of the conversation. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, you may respond.
Thank you, Chair. I think we didn't touch the issue of the revenue, but if you've been following the control of budget report, Kirinyaga County was ranked as second most improved in terms of revenue collection this year. We moved from about 350 to 600, about 580. And also considering how small our county is, that can explain to you we really did our best, and I must commend my team for that.
Through you, Chair, against the potential of the revenue of your county, you have moved from 350 to over 500. What is the potential of your own source revenue? I think parliamentary budget office. Chair, is he here with us today?
Yeah, it was.
What is the potential of...
CRAs puts it at about 700.
But you are doing it at 500.
580.
580. So you are missing it by 120 million. That's not badly off. Okay. So I'll proceed.
And also considering that the CRA is on the higher side, they give you what it is that you should strive to achieve but unlikely to achieve. We have increased our revenue targets this year to about 620 or so, and we expect the team to achieve that target, and they're here and they're hearing the Senator's comments as well. On the issue of waivers as an incentive, what we did is we put mechanisms in place to ensure that we are collecting the revenue. We haven't given any waivers this year. Only waivers on penalties were given last year. On automation, we have automated our revenue collection system, and that is how we ended up with an improved system. It's not foolproof as it is. I am still pushing the team to ensure that it's completely foolproof to see if we will reach the target of 650 to 700. I submit, Chair.
Chair, just a quick follow-up.
Finally,
Okay,
Senator
and just
Cherotee.
finally, who owns this revenue system? Is it owned by the county or outsourced? And finally, on the waivers and in terms of penalties. So in this financial year under review, are you able to give waivers? It is good you put in perspective, because I can see it's part of your response. I'm just interrogating, Governor, what you have shared with us. Is it part? And finally, Chair, you can see if you had tightened up on the issue of full, complete register and valuation role, you should, if you are looking at 620 again or 700, I think among the counties, Chair, respectfully who have appeared here, you are doing fairly good at 80%. Is 80 still an A, or I think it is around A, so you are doing fairly good. It's an A.
On, whether it's Machogu or Matiangi.
No,
supervising.
no, it's Chair. I think you are you are out of order, Chair. Your comment. I know Chair cannot be out of order, but on this one, I think fairly within the Kenyan system. So I think on the revenue, I think you at least, we have sat here for some time. I think Kirinyaga is doing fairly good in terms, but putting at 620 million against 700, I think that's a good motivation. So if you can clarify on those issues, I'll be satisfied, Chair. I submit. Thank you for the indictment.
Governor, your brief response.
Chair, on the issue of waiver, I clarified that we gave waiver on penalties, not on the payment of the tax. In the last financial year as an incentive, we haven't given one this year. On the second of the system is owned by the county government. And the third was on the 620 and 80%. I think, Chair, that's an ESTA. Yeah. Thank you.
Fine. Sometimes people feel like these audit reports must have a lot of issues. But if you look at the audit reports of state corporations, many of them are unqualified opinions. In fact, a good accountant should prepare financial statements that lead to an unqualified opinion. And this idea that these audit reports must have a lot of issues is very, very outdated. In the next phase of devolution, let's work towards unqualified opinions so that we are dealing with policy and statutory and other issues away from the numbers for bookkeeping. So we will register our concerns on the 43.54%. That was under fiscal responsibility. And we must also direct that you take progressive measures to realize that percentage. The Finance Committee should also review the ceilings it has allocated to the County Assembly in light of that huge percentage that it consumes of revenues from Kirinyaga County. I think perhaps there could have been, was there a capital project? Were you guys building something that pushed it up to that amount, or this is just recurrent?
No, there was none.
There was no capital project. Yeah, so the law talks of 7%. And if you're at 10, that's fairly reasonable, it's acceptable. But if you're at 16, then you're denying the residents of Kirinyaga some services, which were the intention of devolution. So let's have that conversation without acrimony, without the two institutions fighting, and without taking away their tools of oversight. That perhaps could release some money that can go into development and into productive sectors. And I think that conversation will be at the level of the Finance Committee of the Senate. Next is on delayed banking of cash revenue collections. Again, the Auditor General has told us that they are satisfied with the response.
True.
Yeah, so it didn't need to find itself in this audit report. The next one is on irregular expenditure on project launch. On this particular query, and considering that we have just 1 hour to go to the end of this session, we want us to be specific on how the 781,000 was used. You paid an entertainer 781,000. So we want to know who is this entertainer who charges 781,000 for a day. If you don't have direct answers, then we'll have the Auditor General read your finding, then we take the answer on record. Maybe that will be more structured. Just read your finding on this.
Thank you, Chair. Irregular expenditure on project launch. As disclosed in Note 12 to the financial statements, the statement of receipts and payments reflects Kenya shillings 1,057,783,731 in respect of use of goods and services. Included in this balance is 40,467,106 in respect of printing, advertising, and information supplies and services. It was observed that Kenya shillings 781,000 was paid to a supplier for provision of entertainment services during the official launch of Kilogoya town parking spaces. However, the construction of Kilogoya parking space, roads, walkways, and associated works was done by the national government through Kenya Urban Support Program, and the county government should not have incurred and budgeted for expenditure. In the circumstances, the 781 Kenya shillings for launching the project was not a proper charge on public funds. Thank you.
Governor, your response?
Thank you, Chair. The Kilogoya parking space, roads and walkways and associated works project was funded by a conditional grant, the Kenya Urban Support Program, and was carried out by the county government. I think there's a word missing there on county government. We need to be clear. It was not a national government project. It was done under Kenya Urban Support Program. It's a World Bank funded project to the Kirinyaga County. According to the approved work plan, conditional grant provided for the construction works. The project being a county flagship project, we had a legitimate mandate to launch the project, and the amount that was used was properly budgeted for under the county administration services economic item, that which is advertising, awareness, and publicity. So to clarify, it was not entertainment, it was the service provider that provided the tents, the chairs, the sound system, this refreshment for the whole event. So it wasn't entertainment. I think it's, I don't know where they got the word entertainment. It's the vote line which was charged, which was under advertising, awareness, and publicity.
Where is a breakdown of that 781,000? Because what the Auditor General has reported is that it was consumed on entertainment services. Senator Sifuna, you might want to ask for your delegation member how much their friend charges for entertainment.
Samido.
Yeah, Samido.
I don't have his current red card, but I know it's not cheap.
But would it be 781,000?
No way, sir. In fact, Governor, I wanted to address this answer of yours when you say you have a legitimate mandate. You know you are appearing before politicians. We understand why you people do these things called launches. There is no mandate anywhere in law. You're not required to launch any project. If you build a road for the people of Kilogoya, are you saying you can't walk on that road until it's flagged off? You know this thing is superfluous. So when you come before the Senate and you say you have a legitimate mandate, you are inviting us into an argument. Personally, because I've never been in the executive, and maybe it will happen when I cross over, I have never seen the need to launch anything after it is done. The people of Kilogoya can see if you build a hospital there and there are doctors. Why do you need to flag off nurses? We are flagging off CHV here, or what are they called? Community health promoters, and the whole president comes with a flag to say now you can go and do your work.
With donated equipment.
It doesn't make any sense, Chair. You know? So even if you desire that publicity so that you can communicate that the project is now finished, it cannot be 781,000, surely. That is the problem the Senate will have with you. Not that we don't understand the political need to do those things, but there is no legal need, legal mandate, and you cannot justify it with 780. If it was 100,000 shillings, we would let it slip. But this is almost a million shillings.
781,000 on entertainment. We still don't have visibility on that. No appendix, no annexure, just a story. Please give us the breakdown of 781,000.
We will provide the documents and the breakdown, and I would request that the word be
But
changed
Governor,
from entertainment.
that was an audit finding, and that is what we required you to do, to come and break it down.
Chair.
Because if you don't break it down, then you are inviting Senator Sifuna to give you unsolicited advice. Senator Charakei.
Chair.
I think, Chair, maybe we should be clear. If I may just clarify. One, the word entertainment, Chair, I would like that corrected because it's not entertainment, as I've clarified. Two, the query is not so much the amount from the auditors, but why we spent money on a national government project. That's the query.
I think that's your perspective. For us, what sticks out is 781,000 spent on entertainment services. We are familiar with conditional grants. We are familiar with, and we were in your town for devolution conference. We saw Cabro all over the place. Perhaps this is part of that expenditure. That's not a problem. This 781,000 spent on entertainment services. You know, these are the things that make devolution look bad. The Auditor General says it's entertainment services. You say it is not, but you do not provide any evidence.
We will provide the evidence.
You know, perhaps the governor needs to describe what was happening in those tents. What was it that was going on in the tents?
There are people, so
yes,
you
people have
provide
come, you have
transport.
seats. You have
no,
seats.
there's no, yes, you provide transport for them to come. That is actually one of the largest costs. You provide the tents, and it depends on the number of people that are there. So
there was no entertainment.
We don't do entertainment in launches. We have women who come to sing, but we don't pay for
What do
entertainment.
you call that when women come to sing?
We don't pay them for
Yes, but
singing.
what is it called? On the program there, what does it
It's called
say?
welcoming.
Not entertainment.
It's a welcoming engagement. Yeah, but we don't have them singing. The only time we have entertainment officially is during national public holidays, when you have like Mashujaa Day or Madaraka Day. That's when you have entertainment. But when you're launching projects, if you've seen how we launch projects, apart from when the governor gets out of the chair and the supporters sing, there is no entertainment.
Now,
Those
Governor,
functions.
in the absence of evidence, you're not running away from this. Senator Mtata?
Chair, you had given.
I think what Senator Sifuna has raised is a very, very fundamental issue, which I think the Auditor General should take note of. And Article 229, clauses funds, clause 4. You also audit for lawfulness. So I don't see how you have not raised a question on the lawfulness of this expenditure, because if we just audit for purposes of figures and receipts, we miss out on the mandate of the Auditor General under Article 229 of the Constitution. So this thing needs to be flagged for being unlawful. And going forward, Your Excellency, I think you may want to avoid expenditures that are unlawful. So I think what Senator Sifuna is raising is a very, very important point that needs to be underlined. That's all, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Mtata. Senator Cherargei?
Governor, in this matter, you have said in your response that the project being a county flagship project, we had a legitimate mandate to launch the project, and the amount that was used was properly budgeted for under the program County Administration Services Economic Item 2 blah blah blah, advertising, awareness and publicity. But we have not annexed that item so that it tries and answer the issue of the effectiveness of using 781,000 for launching the project that was not proper charge on public funds. So my question is, where is this? Was it a budgeted item, and where is the evidence to that effect? Is it provided for issue? And then finally, in ordinarily a function, in this, was it used for hiring public address system, maybe tents, maybe seats, maybe water? What was happening? Maybe as part of answering 781, what was it all about, the way Senator Sifuna has talked about? Was there tents? Was there seats, maybe water? The issue of, I thought county government normally have their own public address system, like their own. I normally see governors driving around like president carrying their own public address system. What was happening? Did you hire the place you are doing the function, so that we can see the reality of 781,000? That's why you are appearing here. Since we were not there, can you try and explain what really happened? Even as we look at the soft copy of this budgeted amount, I really want to see the evidence of this. And I don't know, Smueli, did you see they have quoted this item? Did you get sight of it? Did you see this evidence before the governor responds through you, the chair? Thank you.
Well, let me first start about the lawfulness. It is the audit issue is raised under lawfulness. And the last paragraph, we are asking whether it's a proper charge on public resources. Here we are expecting an explanation and a breakdown on the whole expenditure, procurement processes, and a budget line.
Yeah, I think we are with you on that. And the breakdown that Senator Cherargei has asked for is what we've been consistently asking for. And in the absence, we will agree with the Auditor General that in the circumstances, the 781,000 for launching the project was not a proper charge on public funds, unless you are able to demonstrate in 7 days the breakdown of the 781,000. Governor?
Thank you, Chair. We will provide the evidence for the 700.
Okay, fine.
For the launch of the project.
I think so. Our position remains the same as per the observation of the Auditor General, unless you are able to demonstrate that in 7 days. The next issue is on insurance funds, misallocation of insurance funds. Auditor General, you confirmed that this has now been addressed?
Yes, Chair. It was just a sub-vote issue.
The next one is on Kenya Roads Board Fund, irregular expenditure. What is your overall opinion on the three issues cited, Auditor General?
Chair,
have they been resolved, or there's something still outstanding?
They are resolved, because the first issue was about public participation. The other issue was about completion certificate by Ministry of Public Works, which has also been provided. Therefore, we consider the issue as adequately addressed.
And this one again, Governor, I think you were either in office, or I heard you talk about this when we came for devolution conference in Kirinyaga, that we needed to have regulations on management and oversight of conditional grants. And I think there was something that was drafted. Has it passed? Was that done when you were in executive, or it was done when you were in the county? National or county?
When I've been in the county, and we've even just raised the issue. There is a bill that I think is at the National Assembly on the conditional grants bill.